Day 3 of Week 6, that's right, it's coming to a conclusion, us being back here at the HGC, but don't worry, we'll be back next week, and we still have awesome matches that will be happening today. I'm Trixler, Caldor, you ready for Day 3?
Yeah, I definitely am. We have some good matches going on today, and we also see two of the teams that have not made an appearance this weekend.
That is right. Lots of teams that we haven't seen yet. Team Liquid, Team Expert in particular. Let's go ahead and look at the standings and see where they currently reside in all of Europe here in HGC. At the very tippy top here, Fnatic with the 7-1, finding a nice little 2-game cushion lead. But down at number 4, down at number 5, and down at number 6, we're watching these teams. They'll be fighting today.
Yeah, I'm actually really hyped for this now because we have Fnatic, of course, still at the front, and they're already talking a bit about, okay, what do we need to do to attend the HGC finals at BlizzCon? While at the same time, we have so many other teams that are fighting for the second spot, for the third spot. And then, of course, there's always the battle about the Crucible. Who's going to make it out of the Crucible ranks? And Zealots actually took a really big step yesterday.
Yeah, they could take a bigger step today. They could take over Team Liquid, which is going to be exciting to see. Since we've seen the Western Clash, Team Liquid actually didn't get a victory over a European team. They beat all the North American teams there to get third place. So we'll see how that will continue to move in. Now, let's go ahead and look at the schedule, the matches that will be happening today on this Sunday. Later on, Team Good Guys and Team Expert will face off. Team Expert was the runner-ups at the Western Clash. And then later on, North America with Space Station Gaming and Even in Death.
Yeah, Even in Death, not so successful this season thus far, and also yesterday against Gale Force, they didn't really make a big comeback there. Played Shogal, which was kind of nice, and they had a couple of good team fights, but in the end, Gale Force walked away with a pretty convincing victory. And of course, then later on today, last but not least, it's Lag Force against the Superstars. And especially Lag Force, of course, one of the teams that have struggled a lot in Part 1 of Phase 2, but with their first game in Part 2, they actually started to make a bit of a comeback here.
Yeah, they looked good on Friday. Zuna and crew getting it done here. Will they be able to do so tonight? We'll see it later on. But for our first game of the day, Team Liquid playing once again, and they need to be a bit careful. Zealots were looking great in their matches this weekend, and so we'll see if they can handle them. In fact, let's go ahead and go to our players now and see what they think about the match coming up.
The goal for us is BlizzCon, obviously. We are working very, very hard on it. I do believe we have solid chances to do so, but in Europe it's like that currently. Like Fnatic is rank 1, and then there is a gap between, and then there's like Liquid, Dignitas, Expert, probably Tricked, and I mean maybe even playing Dux or Zealots have a chance to somehow get into the top 3 or top 4. But there are 3 slots for BlizzCon, so let's say Fnatic gets one of them, then there are 2 more to give away, I guess, and we will fight for it. And I think it will come down to Dignitas, Expert, and us to get the 3 slots.
Last time we played against Liquid, we didn't expect to win. We went with the mindset of taking a map, maybe 2 maps, and we end up winning. So maybe we can repeat the same again, I don't know. We couldn't believe that we were winning against Liquid. Like, it was insane. A team that is top 3 in Europe, that is being of the Europe biggest tournaments always, like since ever, and beating them so convincingly was like, okay, maybe we are better than we think. Maybe we can get maybe even into BlizzCon. I don't know.
It was really interesting talking to Grandpa, as he mentioned, playing against Team Liquid the last time was a very big moment for them. Felt great to actually get a victory over, and it's possible they may do so again today, and it has bigger stakes than ever.
And I always have to laugh when I see Grandpa in these videos because he puts on the bad boy image right there. Eyes wide open, looks like a crazy person into the camera. And then he talked to him at the event and he's the nicest guy ever.
Yeah, he's so calm and has a great demeanor. Let's go ahead and look at some tweets here. Hasuabs came in here and has some words about the match today. As always, he's always tweeting it up, so make sure to follow him if you get the chance. In 40 minutes, we will continue our mission in HGC. Playing versus Zealots Hots. Don't miss the action and prepare your cheers.
And what he has been talking about in the video was actually really important, because so far the trend continues that Fnatic holds the top spot in Europe, and with them now beating Dignitas for the 2nd time in Phase 2, they just increased their chances of attending the HGC finals at BlizzCon. But we still have 2 spots remaining, and this is where we are especially looking towards Dignitas, Expert, and of course Team Liquid. And this any of these three teams could secure those 2 spots. So we might end up with Dignitas not making it to the HGC finals at BlizzCon, but it all depends on how well Expert and Liquid are now playing. And for Liquid, for me personally, they've been the question mark. They had some really good performances recently, but they are also always dropping games that they're not really expected to. So at this point, it's just, again, the question, which Team Liquid are we going to get? They themselves told me that sometimes they show up and they don't know either until the first map starts. They're like, well, let's see how that works today.
Well, the question mark might not be there for the fans as they continue to cheer for Team Liquid. Let's go ahead and check out the leaderboard right now for our top 5 cheers for Team Liquid. 83, I don't even know how to say the name. Nachschaden? How would you say that, Caldor?
Well, basically he misspelled it, but that's actually German. Nachtschatten 83.
Did I deliver?
It's like Night Shadow, basically.
Oh, that's a cool name.
Doesn't 100% translate that way, but pretty much. But he missed a T there, so he misspelled.
I like it. Night Shadow 83 with 42,000 cheers already here for Team Liquid. Zealots as well continue to get their own cheers as we have a lot of people that are actually cheering for the Zealots. Go ahead and check it out.
Where's Little Helper?
Where's Little Helper? Snitch Hot is actually the #1 cheer for Zealots. Got a fan there from Dignitas.
He must have lost a bet, right?
Nah, man. He loves those guys. It looks like it. Snitch is always a good guy, man. He's a troll on the surface, but underneath, he's a good guy.
Yeah, Snitch is pretty cool. And incredibly talented as well, of course, as we've seen this weekend. And my boy Techa, also in the rankings there. I am liking it.
And J Nova as well. See him constantly in chat, talking it up, always interacting during the game. So cool to see these cheers constantly rolling in. But Team Liquid, a lot of people cheering for them and really believing in what they can bring to the table.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Liquid, the entire team, how they grew together, it was just one of these fascinating things. And I've been talking about it in the past, but again, when they formed, everybody looked at the team and said, like, yeah, these guys suck. They have absolutely no chance to make anything happen. They were really the leftovers from all the other teams, the players that nobody really wanted. Hazops, the StarCraft 2 has-been, that just can't cut it in a new game. Then we had, of course, Nurok, for example. Everybody was looking only towards Chris, and Nurok was the one that everybody thought, like, yeah, he's just the bad version of him. And every single one of them wasn't really a player that stood out. Then they banded together, and all of a sudden these guys got better and better and better. They went to their first global in Korea and Seoul back then, took so much experience from it, and just grew within months to a unit that terrified Europe. And right now, they are in a little bit of a weird spot, but they have a lot of fans for exactly that history.
Well, we'll see if they can pull it off here against the Zealots. We're going to go into game #1 in this best-of-5 series. The battleground will be Tomb of the Spider Queen to kick it off. Tomb of the Spider Queen picked here by Team Liquid, and first pick will be moving on to the Zealots.
Yeah, first pick for the Zealots. And for Team Liquid, this is, of course, once again, something where they have to prove themselves. As I said, they, pretty similar to Fnatic, actually, were a team that at the beginning, when they formed, they struggled a lot more. They had a couple of weaknesses, and they overcame all of it. Just seeing how they grew was absolutely amazing. And now they find themselves, for a few months already, in a spot where they struggle, where they were in a slump, they broke out of it, but they can't really shake that problem. And they always say that their coach in particular really helped them with their mindset, with the way how they're approaching everything. So I definitely would love them to just show us their full strength once more, but against the new and strong Zealots, it's not going to be easy.
That's a good point. Zealots have just been coming together, and yesterday they looked great, especially in their movement. When they were behind, they still went for moments where they knew they had to force a fight or make a play. And that's something that I'm looking forward to here on Tomb of the Spider Queen. They didn't play on Tomb yesterday, but already they're kicking it off here with a Chromie ban and picking Ariel.
Yeah, pretty fast draft thus far. We have Tassadar immediately eliminated by Team Liquid. We've seen already how well Tassadar can extend any other support that you have in your setup. And also he offers the added vision on Tomb of the Spider Queen, which is incredibly important if you want to control the map. In particular, of course, the turning points. But the Zealots already indicating that with Oriel as their first pick, they are aiming for a potential double support play here. And this is, of course, pre-nerfed Oriel, so we still have the level 7 titles available.
I am interested to see what Team Liquid will be picking up. There has been a few weeks where they adjust playstyles, and they really maximize on one playstyle, but forget how to play another. They were running a lot of double support compositions, especially at the Western Clash, and a few weeks before we went to the Western Clash. With that Oriel being taken away, now we have to see what they have been adjusting and what they've been working on. And so far, it's Rhaegar and ETC.
The rise of ETC continues with Team Liquid as well, so Bloomby gonna be on the hero here. And I've been talking a little bit about the history of Team Liquid, but one of the points that I also want to highlight is that when Team Liquid was at the height of their career, or I'm not quite sure if you can say that just yet, but when they really started to dominate Europe for a long time, one of the things that really distinguished them from other teams was the way they shot called. It was more so a sharing of information from players that were on the same level. They, as one shot caller that dictated every single step that they made in the game. So that was a really interesting approach. And back then they argued that it was one thing that gave them an edge over opponents. But lately they've actually been saying that they feel it can become a problem since they don't have that person that jumps in and says, okay, this is the final decision, this is what we do. And sometimes they miss out on half a second in the decision making, which can cost them a team fight. So they're currently trying to find their rhythm here and also trying to change their shot calling up a little bit, which extends to the draft as well.
That's interesting because it feels like with teams constantly getting practice every single week, that primary shot caller has become more and more of a staple for a lot of teams. In fact, we've had teams that have gone through phases where they tried to switch up their shot caller and falter a little bit, went back, but took that as a learning lesson.
Yeah.
Is this something that someone that's putting an amateur team together should try to focus on, having a main shot caller and trying to really back them up?
Yeah, definitely. Finding a shot caller can be incredibly difficult, and it always is. You need to be someone within the team that is respected, and even if you make a mistake, you need to be a person that has a skin thick enough that you can deal with it.
Yeah.
But a shot caller is incredibly important. Someone who just... Oftentimes teams have like several people that chip into the shot calling process. You have someone that dictates the macro plays on the map. When do you rotate where? When do you go for boss? Do we go for this objective? Do we let it go? Do we split maybe? But then within the fights, oftentimes the role switches a little bit since you have your tank or melee assassin calling the engages and calling targets. So it depends a little bit how the team is set up. But having these roles within the team is incredibly important and can make a huge difference of winning or losing, even if you have talented players on the team.
And before we do finish up this discussion on shot calling, if you are on a team that has elected someone to be your primary shot caller, follow them, but talk about the game afterwards. Never disrupt in the middle of a game plan because that's where you see the most issues and teams falling apart. Talk about it afterwards and work together as a team. Now, with that being said, let's go ahead and move into the draft here. Uther's been banned out, Malthael as well. We had Dahak and Lenara grab for Zealots, and now Team Liquid thinking about what they want to move into. Lenara solo has become a big staple as of late.
I mean, Lunara, first of all, works extremely well with Oriel. That's the first point to be made here. And then it's not only the combo between Oriel and Lunara, it's the map as well that really emphasizes her strength even more. So she has been fantastic here. Team Liquid, they add Garrosh to the setup now. So we have another European team heading into Garrosh place. And this is one of those cool things also between regions. We've seen a lot of Garrosh, mainly from Roll20. In North America. They had a fantastic weekend with a 6-0 in maps. They won both of their series without dropping a single one. But in Europe, Garrosh hasn't won a single game just yet.
I mean, unless you're justing, it seems like Garrosh does not win, it feels like, both in North America and Europe. So we'll see if Team Liquid has the answer here to make Garrosh work. They have a main tank ETC, so I'm kind of wondering, are we going to have that Garrosh be an offlaner?
It could definitely be the case. It depends a bit on what we're now seeing as the last pick in just a moment. But the interesting part here is also that a lot of the heroes that other players and teams have identified as counters to Garrosh are not in the setup. Malthael got banned out by the Zealots, which definitely played into the cards of Team Liquid. And ETC, Breeze personally highlighted him as a good counter to Garrosh because of his displacement, is also now on the side of Team Liquid. So they're really starting to set something up where Garrosh can excel, is a little bit less at risk, and has good follow-ups for any kind of his tosses that he can bring out now.
Alright, well, Johanna and Grammy will be the final pickup for Zealots. You get some Cursed Bullet there, so helpful breaking down that Garrosh, but Johanna as well can force the fight and maybe move in if one of our teammates are thrown in forward. I do think that with Garrosh being on the field more, we're going to see a little bit more tanking, being a little bit more aggressive. If you see Garrosh stepping up, you should see your Dahaka or your Johanna move towards that Garrosh and be willing to tank that throw if it is something that is a threat for your backline that may get hit.
Yeah, definitely. And for Team Liquid, at this point, I'm really curious what's going to happen now. Since we've always argued about Garrosh maybe at the start become a bit of a solo laner thanks to his level 4 talent. Not quite on the level where you say, okay, he's going to dominate this lane and push an opponent back, but where he can at least hold his own for a bit until rotations become more important in the game. But now Team Liquid is actually taking a long time for that last pick. And they could still add another melee down to the bot lane and try to use that. Or just simply shift the way that they are laning on the map. And they go for Zagara. A lot of push potential here. They might have been a little bit afraid of all that AoE that we are seeing on the side of Zealots. While they themselves have Rhaegar and Vala, they are still not quite able to keep up with all the wave clear that we see on the other side of the draft. But seeing Zagara now, I don't know, it makes me happy. I think Zagara is a pretty cool hero as she can be. She's very macro-oriented in that sense, but at that bot lane, she can definitely do a lot. And one of the big arguments in favor for Zagara for a long time was also the vision that she provides.
Yes.
Obviously, the Zealots have several heroes that can deal with the creep tumors here, but it's still one of those additional things that you have to pay attention to and that can become a nuisance.
Yeah, it's something that's almost a chore, it feels like. I want to play the game, and I want to run around trying to clear up the creep tumors, and if Zagara is able to even get to a point where you're being more sidetracked and focusing on her creep tumors, that's when Garrosh walks in, sees that vision, gets the engage that wants to pop out. I actually really like this pickup. I'm mostly wondering about the heroic choice. With it being Tomb of Spider Queen, typically unless you get a 4-2 opened up, Nidus Network can be a little on the difficult side to pull off. I can see a world where maybe we go into Devouring Maw and we have a combo set up for Garrosh.
Yeah, the old school combo was not only Garrosh.
Oh, ETC, yeah, mosh pit.
Hello. I mean, yes, you can throw them into the mosh pit. That works. Don't get me wrong. It would look cool.
It would look fancy.
But at the same time, ETC can also just say, hey, dude, I appreciate the help, but I
was mostly talking about the first off, if you drop the Devouring Maw, you get the combo, you pull them into, you get the fight, or you can even walk up and do the mass AoE taunt. Just lots of stuff available here for maybe Devouring Maw to be picked up. But let's go ahead and move in to Tomb of the Spider Queen. Game 1 here. Team Liquid taking on the Zealots.
It is game time as the Liquids face off against the Zealots, and Splendor to the left side. We have him already on the support here with Rega, Hazops on Zagara, Blumby on ETC, Darkmog of course on Vala here this time, and Nurok is currently rocking Garrosh.
On the right side, in the red, Zealots continuing to come together and grow as a team. Mopsio on Johanna, Grandpa on Ariel, Shad playing Lennar, Poik on Greymane, and Zarmany playing Dahaka.
Zarmany and Dahaka now, and I'm really interested to see in particular how Zagara is going to be played in this game, since we haven't seen her in the European games at least for quite some time. So it's pretty cool that we have Team Liquid already showing something a bit newer here. Nothing too crazy just yet, but I love to have Zagara in there, focusing on the Banelings at least for now. But you also have to talk about Garrosh again. He has not won a single game in Europe yet. That might change here today. And on level 1, we don't have Warbreaker, not the quest talent, but instead the unrivaled strength for the Wrecking Ball.
Which allows for you to throw a little bit further, but also give you a bit more damage on those throws. So looking for some nice combos here. Team Liquid will be doing so, as Nurok will play that Garrosh. Zagara also moving into Volatile Acid. This is really good for wave clear if you're trying to shoot from afar, but also to set up the wave clear and trying to match Dahaka, because Dahaka is one of the best wave clears in the game. Hazops now will be able to have a chance if a minion wave does get stacked up near him, he can move up to the side and burn that down.
Yeah, and they are already reacting, trying to make sure that Hazu falls, and indeed he does. Poik with a good rotation down to the bot lane, and Hazu a little bit too far out, dying early on. And this is a problem. Losing your solo laner is always an issue, since you are the only tool that your team has on the lane to soak experience. So Blumby had to react and move back down, which now makes Team Liquid's 3-man between the mid and the top lane a lot weaker. So they have to wait for Zagara to rotate in. So that was a really important kill.
Especially knowing that your opponent has to rotate between the web weaver turn on the bottom, which sets up for an easy gank if you have enough people there. Zealots tried to set up for that gank. Luckily, they brought ETC down. He was able to power slide in. But it had it been a hero with no mobility, you may have gotten another kill there. So that kill, especially in the early game, very, very important for Zealots. But Team Liquid need to make sure that does not happen often. Back to the laning here. So far, Zealots have a pretty good comp for clearing out waves. Johanna, in particular, in that front line, will try to hold that middle on top, while Lenara brings in the additional damage.
And you can already see how down to the bot lane Zagara is attempting to set creep tumors up, and the Zealots always eliminate them as fast as they can. If you face off against the Zagara, it's absolutely crucial that you deal with those creep tumors fast. Once that Zagara has established a good creep carpet, she gains so much value, especially when you play on a big map and the Nidus network comes into play. So it's absolutely crucial that you try to shut those down as early as possible.
It's like leftovers in the fridge, man. If you let them stack up, they will take over your entire fridge, and when you buy new fresh vegetables, they won't fit in there. Same time, Mopsio in the middle taking damage as Blumby charges in and takes a fight.
This is probably the silliest analogy I've ever heard.
But a true one!
And I absolutely love it. It's fantastic.
Well, Zealots so far have done a good job of avoiding the Garrosh here. Typically, you have 1 to 2 kills that happen in the early side. In fact, they are the team with the first kill, as they were able to take out the Zagara in the bottom lane, but what is something that Team Liquid can do to get Garrosh to be more effective?
I mean, if you want to get Garrosh more effective, I don't really think that you have to just make anything make more effective at this point. Nurok is just going to try and see if he can throw someone in, and the follow-up needs to be there, and that's where Blumby, with ETC in particular, comes into play. If he can lock the target down a little bit harder, then you just get the extra damage in. Ideally, of course, you throw over the wall and you trap a target completely, but so far the Zealots have actually played really well around Nurok's positioning. And that's probably the biggest keyword when we're talking about Garrosh positioning. You need to make sure that you realize when he becomes dangerous and what his range is, so you position yourself accordingly.
I do think that Team Liquid has been utilizing him well for turn-ins. He's the one that's been dropping off the gems and collecting them the most. If he's able to be near that turn-in point, that increases his chance of forcing that combo to go in for an engage. And if they don't move in to stop the turn-in, then you just have Garrosh drop off the gems. And so far, Team Liquid has 39-9.
Here we go.
Doing a great job.
Going straight for Grand Paquette, trying at least, but Blumby was not there for the follow-up. That was a bit unfortunate. Nurok with a really nice use of his skill to just like toss him back into the team, but it was not quite in range yet. We have Zagara still holding that bot lane, and keep in mind that Liquid is actually really far ahead with the gem count. I love how Nurok also not only just simply throws them behind them, but every single time someone tries to engage into the team, he peels for them, but just simply throwing the target back and is like, get out of here.
That was smart. It works out, but Zealots with that gank do get a point here where they go for a turn-in. And instead of Team Liquid, who was pretty far ahead in gem collection and gem turn-in, Zealots are going to get it themselves.
In the germ collection?
They're heavy in the germ collection right now. I blame it on Zagara. She's a bit dirty.
Yeah, me too.
He's a bit dirty. Creep is not the most sanitary thing in the world.
That's why I want to have that Janitor Leoric skin, because every single time when you play against Zagara, you can just simply pick it up and clean the map.
I mean, we've been asking for 2 years. One day Blizzard will deliver.
Blizzard, please.
While Zealots are delivering on this top lane, though, they are using the web weavers, moving forward, opening the turrets up, getting experience. They even have a lead over Team Liquid.
Yeah, that turn-in was really great for them. Liquid was so close to completing the turn-in themselves, but then the Zealots snuck it in. Also for Zagara, we have the Vicious Acid now taken on level 7, so you have an additional slow, which is actually really cool for team fights later on as well, and can be a follow-up to a potential more play. We have talked a lot about the Nidus network in the past on bigger maps, but as we said before, with ETC, with Garrosh, you can make huge arguments for more to be taken here, and then the extra slow that you get out of your banelings, thanks to the level 7 talent, is going to strengthen that even more.
Yeah, I would argue that slow is just a go-to no matter what. When you have two tanks that have engages, you want to be able to slow down your targets to make it harder for them to juke out on the Garrosh Groundbreaker or even the ETC Power Slide, and as you mentioned, the Maul. It all just comes together very well with Zagara. Zealots so far have done pretty well as they open the top lane, but didn't get too much damage on force, which you typically see. Iron Skin being used here by Johanna to stay away from that throw on the Garrosh, but Zarmany, he comes up every single time a fight happens and is willing to engage for his team.
Yeah, also you see Mopsio with really good zoning, but as you mentioned Zarmany, he was trying to initiate there, couldn't quite get the drag and then had to move out. But Team Liquid with ETC now on the turning point is constantly attempting to complete their first Web Weaver wave, and so far Zealots have been able to shut this down quite hard. It's only half a level that they are missing to hit their level 10 spike, and then Team Liquid would have to back off, which could in theory allow Zealots that also important double turn-in that we oftentimes talk about.
That it could, and Zealots have delayed enough here where Team Liquid may have a hard time getting this full turn-in with 10 right around the corner on the horizon for Zealots. They only need to get one more wave of experience and they're good to go. They're actually setting up for an engage in case they do get that 10. Team Liquid realizing this, backs away and plays it safe.
Yeah, Team Liquid also at this point now in a situation where they're still attempting to guard the turn-in at least. So they will start to use the interrupt. And I cannot stress that how important it actually is that if you are ahead in the game just by half a level, how much you are going to try and get those double turn-ins. It's something that on the North American end, Dreadnought has been talking about, that the NA teams are oftentimes missing these opportunities and are not really catering to the map as well as Europe does. But this is exactly what you should do in your own games as well. You got the first turn-in, you have half a level lead, try to stall your opponent out until you had 10 and then get the second turn-in. That's exactly what the Zealots just did. And it is so dangerous to Team Liquid.
It puts Team Liquid in the spot where they either have to team fight right now and get a kill or two, or just move back and defend the tower. They attempted to go in for the fight, but Zealots played it safe enough and slow enough to where the Web Weavers got here. Now Team Liquid has been chunked down on health, which makes defense that much harder.
That was a fantastic cocktail that we just saw from Greymane. Really well done, and they are extremely low now. So the reason why the double turn-in is so crucial is that now that we have the second Web Weaver wave moving in, Zealots are likely to already take down fountains and maybe even forts, so the distance to safety is going to increase for Team Liquid. Also, they will lose their fountains, which is also important, but even more so, the extra experience that you pick up will really propel you towards level 13, and then you end up in that scenario where you always have a lead over the opponent's team by utilizing an extra talent, and that's what the Zealots are attempting to do here. So Team Liquid is, as you can see right here, starting to fall farther and farther behind.
Team Liquid is just purely struggling right now. 3 forts down, pushed in. They still have yet to deal with the Web Weaver in the bottom. Zealots have pulled back. The good news for Team Liquid is they do have their own turn-in available, and they may be able to get it when they clean this Web Weaver.
And the big thing for Team Liquid is that they have a fantastic combo available to them. If you start with a mosh pit, with a maw, then you can you can obliterate an entire team, no problem whatsoever. If there's a good maw on 3-4 people, then all of a sudden we are talking about the potential mosh pit follow-up, we are talking about Rain of Vengeance on Vala, locking everybody in place, Garrosh going in with the Warlord's challenge, and if you combine all of that, if you use that wombo combo that is available to Team Liquid here, you can instantly win a big fight and then take it from there. This is what the Zealots have to be careful about right now. They are ahead, solid lead with level 13 against level 10 talents, which is great for them, but they have to realize if we clump up, if any of these ability hits us, it's lights out and we will fall far behind. So Zealots, even though they are ahead, have to be really careful about how they approach teamfights now.
That's why I enjoy the Zealots draft here. They identified in the draft that this combo could be a possibility, and they picked up heroes that can be on their own. The only ones that should be connecting pretty heavily is Auriel next to somebody, and the tanks maybe being grouped up. From there, they should be able to poke with the cocktail, with the Nara here on the Thornwood Vine, and try to put their opponents so far behind in actual health bars that whenever they do go for the engage, they can at least contest back.
Yeah. Now, whenever you are in the same situation that Team Liquid has been, don't panic.
Oh!
That's already a nice start. Using the kill against Mopsio. Great play here by Team Liquid, and now they can chase. This is actually perfect for the point that I was trying to make here. They are trying to chase even a little bit harder now. They don't have the level 13 talent yet, so they need to be careful. But look at Blumby. He's waiting patiently before he uses the mosh pit. They don't even have to. They get Auriel, but Vala is down. Great kill here. There comes the mosh against 3 heroes, but the main damage dealer is dead, and that's an issue. And all of a sudden, the Zealots get a double kill in what should have arguably been a good fight for Team Liquid. And now we have nearly all gems lost on the side of TL.
Caldor, tell me if I'm being too mean, but that was incredibly messy there from Team Liquid. We had the engage from HGC on the side. I enjoyed the flank. I felt like it was a little bit too hostile, but they seemed to panic in the middle of the fight. Devouring Maul, Mosh Pit all used at the same time in the same area, but still missed out, and we didn't have a point where Garrosh got the engage he wanted.
Now, there's a few things that I want to say about that fight. First of all, what I was trying... perfect that we had
Look at this.
Yeah, but look at Vala. Vala is the crucial point here. I don't mind them using more on Mosh Pit. The problem is Vala was dead already. At this point, Vala just dies. And if Vala doesn't die, then they get at least 2 kills here and can turn it around. But with the Mosh Pit hitting 3 people, their main damage dealer is gone. And that's the biggest issue. Rhaegar didn't even get an opportunity to use his Ancestral Healing here. So there was definitely a lot of problems in this battle. But I think Vala falling this early was the biggest one. And it comes at a time when I was actually about to compliment Team Liquid. I actually think there's a lot of things to talk about here. First of all, when you are behind, as Team Liquid was, don't panic. They had 97 gems at that time, so that was a good spot for them. But they got the kill against Johanna, and that immediately initiated an attack from them, which I don't mind at all. The problem just simply is losing your main damage dealer. Now they lose Garrosh as well. They have lost the 97 gems I've been talking about a bit earlier. And the Zealots have now a 3-level lead and another talent advantage. This is just absolutely brutal for Liquid.
Shad and Poik are just destroying this front line every time they get a chance here. HGC having a very difficult time staying alive. Ancestor Killing had to be used just to keep him in the fight, but sadly Garrosh, a little bit too forward, was the next victim that they picked off, and they chased him all the way back. A 3-level lead for the Zealots, and they are in a good spot soon to have another turn-in. They only need 4 more gems, and they can start to push in and work towards more keeps. Remember, they've already got 1 keep killed in the bottom.
Yeah, and double up also now taken on Garrosh to double straight. And Zealots actually are now in the spot where they can to be honest, the Zealots are now starting to really gain so much momentum for themselves that they could start to rival the top 3 here if they continue this trend. ETC is down as well. There's another kill against Rhaegar. This is just this is a massacre. The ward, the keep at the bot lane has already been eliminated, and now Zealots are just simply going for the core. They are brutalizing their opponent here. I love Mobsion, that Johanna, and the way that he's playing it at this point. The entire game has been very cautious. The tank versus tank play and meta has changed with Garrosh making an appearance, but they are doing this really well. The space that they create for Lunara and Greyman is fantastic. And the Zealots take down Team Liquid on game number 1. No chance for Liquid to come back into this. 12 kills against 1. Great play by the Zealots as they take the lead in the series.
Zealots going with the 1-0, and you gotta ask, what happened during the break?
I mean, I want to, again, this game, there's so many points where you can really analyze and talk about what happened, and I want to come back to the team fight that we had. So, at that point, I was trying to talk about it during the game already, but we had so many things happening here, so let's just break this down for a second. We had Team Liquid behind by 1 talent. It was level 10 talents versus 13 talents because Zealots got that infamous double turn in. And at that point, Liquid just simply said, guys, we have 97 gems, we have everything that we need here, so let's just play this passive, wait until we get level 13. And that was the whole plan. Wait until you get 13, then fight on even talents. But what happens is Garrosh gets that throw on Johanna and they get a kill. And all of a sudden they're saying, boys, we have a 4 versus 5. Yes, we're lacking the talent, but they don't have their main tank. We can move in. And that's when they start to set up that flank with ETC, which I absolutely love.
Sure.
The big problem, really, as they engage, we have Darkmoke being too aggressive. He gets dropped, and that was really the one linchpin move that we had on the side of the Zealots. Because in that 4 versus 4 scenario, without the main damage dealer alive for Liquid, they couldn't win the fight anymore. And then Zealots made the absolutely perfect move. They chased them down hard with Lunara slowing everyone. And because they got a full team wipe, it meant that all the gems were lost. And at that point, the game was basically over. It was that one crucial point where you lose 97 gems in a situation where you should have arguably won a big team fight, where coming back depends on your opponent making a mistake that you can exploit, and Zealots never made that mistake. So that team fight decided everything for the Zealots.
Yeah, that's my argument there. I feel like that team fight was completely winnable for Team Liquid. The Devouring Maul, when the 2 tanks were moving forward and going for that Vala, dropped them all there. You had an ETC in a spot where he could make a play to move towards the back line and drop a mosh pit, or follow up the Devouring Maul from the Zagara, but they went for the back line, which makes sense. You're trying to hit a Maul on that Ariel. You're trying to make sure that in that back line they're not getting the heals out so you can focus someone down, but a little bit more patience there and use that number advantage to you, the advantage, obviously. You can get the victory. Regardless, let's go ahead and take a couple look at our players here that we're playing in the matchup here. It looks like we have Hasuabs, who played Zagara that last matchup, as he is matching up against Shad.
And pretty evenly at that. The KDA is a bit higher, but when we look at the deaths, nearly identical here. Kill participation, absolutely spot on. But yeah, definitely 2 great players that we have for both of these teams. And Hazobs in the last game struggled at the start a little bit, but I think he had a couple of really cool moments there. Shad, on the other hand, is just impressing from week to week even more. So
yeah, he's my favorite player of the season, I think. The first couple of weeks, he had a couple of different heroes he played that I love what he played off with. His Abathur in particular looked really freaking awesome. But as of late, he continues to really improve, and the Zealots continue to get wins. And I'm going to say it's mostly because of Shad. Let's go ahead and check out the battleground for game number 2. That's a joke, by the way. The entire